Hello and welcome to episode 6. So grateful and glad to have you all here. Michael here with Bill. Bill, how is it going?
Honestly, I am very sore and tired right now.
It's been a long day, right? Long
it
week,
has.
long
It-
day, long
yeah,
everything.
Yep.
Man, well, I would love to start with, and I didn't ask you about this, but I know you do things with motorcycles, so I'd love to hear. Fun fact about Bill, what is your association with motorcycles? Because I think it's fun. Like, we'll throw something new that people are like, wait, what?
Yeah. Well, I actually I started a couple years. 22? I think it was. Yeah, because it's a 2021 Kawasaki Vulcan, and I actually had a friend sweet talk me into it because he was bragging about. It's like, yeah, I'm just planning on driving to Iowa from Ohio, and only spending $50 on gas. I think is what he said. I was like, I'm sold. I spend I'd spend like over 200 some odd dollars if I went to Iowa and back. So I was like, I'm getting a bike, save on gas. And so yeah, I mean, I've been riding since late 2022. Yes. And I mean, it's become a passion of mine. It started as I'm buying this for a gas saver, and now it's just like, I don't know if I'm going to be saving anything because of
Because you're buying new parts, right?
Yeah.
And it just opens a new supply of new things to buy for it.
Yeah, so there's certain things I got to save up for. Next year, I want to get a little a cargo trailer for it, so that way I have a little something that I can have a better vacation haul with and throw my bag in there and have a little bit more of a relaxing ride instead of having, a suitcase, or not suitcase, was it tote bag, the sports bags, having those sitting right behind me. So
I've heard even some of the expensive bikes have seat warmers because the men's Bible study group that I used to be in, I was put with all these bikers. They're so much older than me. I'm like the opposite of fitting with these people, but I had them over for dinner and I was just like, this is so odd because these are like older guys that they'd go on bike journeys together, like a whole weekend trip away. And they're like, his wife got him to get the nice one because she wants the seat warmer. So I'm like, I did not know this was possible.
No, I didn't even know that
nice.
either, but I kind of have to look into it now.
I know, a new thing to add on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I might as well get a car with all that. But no, and I have to think, it was like before I even got a motorcycle, all these like decked out motorcycles, lights, speakers, all these other luxuries. I was the guy that saw these people, and I was like, man, you are a total tool for this. But now I'm realizing it's like, okay, now I'm the tool because I understand why you're being a tool, if that makes sense. I understand why you have these things. Like, I just put neon lights on my bike, not to be a tool, but to increase the profile at night so I'm more visible. So I'm eating my own words, pretty much.
Yeah, for myself, I would say I know how to ride a unicycle. That's my weird, cool fun fact. I don't know. It doesn't compare to a motorcycle, but I had wanted to. I don't even remember why. It's just one of those things I like to try new things, and I'm like,
Right.
Unicycle. I've seen people do it. Could I do it? And I found, it turns out bicycle stores do not have unicycles. I'm like, you guys are so lame. You're like, we know everything about bikes, and they're like, yeah, I grew up riding one. I'm like, well, where can I buy it? You cannot. So I got it on Facebook Marketplace from this random guy, like $20-$30, and then watched a bunch of YouTube videos. Started at the park holding the rail so I could do it, and then I usually do it in the spring. Like, that's how I know, like, oh, things are turning around when the days are longer, and I'm like, I've got an hour before dinner time and I already finished work. Let's go to the park. And these little kids, little boys, like, that's so cool. Can I try it? And I'm like, no, you will fall and kill yourself.
Mine.
Like, I'm barely able to do it myself. So I'm like, it's really cute. And like, normally I'd be all into like, yeah, let's try it out. But I'm like, I still don't even know if I'm going to crack
So
my
you're
head
still
open.
learning how to ride these things in.
Kind of. Like, I learned how to get on without help. So like the jump on, the mounting process sounds gross. But, getting on the unicycle by myself.
Yeah.
So I can do that, but it's still kind of like hit or miss. And like, I'm 6'2", so my arms are flailing. It's the flailing, like catching my balance check.
It's like that big old car inflatable guy waving his hands in the air. Kind of. Yeah.
So it's one of those, I'm like, don't get too close to me. But it turns out it's like riding a bike where you don't forget. Because I was like, I do it like once a year for a couple weeks, and then I don't do anything.
Right.
So I'm like, will I remember? But yeah, that is like a weird thing that maybe you're listening, you didn't know. But I also know how to juggle. So I'm like, maybe I could join the circus if I had to. So
Most I can juggle is just 2 balls. Just, you know, that's it. We learned in college, not college, high school. The gym teacher
like you went to
taught us.
college for that?
Yeah.
They do have clown school if you didn't know that.
I did actually. My grandfather was a clown, and I think he might have been a part of that. He was a magician, clown person. Anyways,
but we can go
Yeah.
from here. I actually think that's really cool. Yeah, I worked with someone, and she was like, she's a real clown. She went to school for it. I'm like, oh wow. But Bill, what have you been working on? Maybe like let's talk about this new cool community thing that if you listen to Bill's podcast from this past week, he mentions it, but I would love to know because it is something that's really cool, and I think it's really going to push your business forward.
yeah. I've been actually pushing off on this from doing this for some time because I want to build the audience up before integrating this, so that way there's that interaction. Like, you look at the size of your ministry, business, whatever it is, audience, and when you implement something or have some sort of feature, whatever that it is, only a fraction of that number is going to, take the bait, so to speak. So I've been kind of holding off on it, but I was like, well, better say, let's just go ahead and have it, so that way it's there, and maybe that'll be the encouragement for more people to interact and be involved and follow and so on. So a couple days ago, and Michael, I don't know if I pitched it to you or just like, no, I blew up your phone. I was like, holy cow, I have this idea. So created a Facebook group. It is technically accessible, but I'm not going to promote it too much just yet. Facebook group for the people who follow a podcast, anybody really, but that's going to be the primary focus at this point in time. So that way they can interact with us, and if they have any questions, feel free to share. Say, hey, we have this. So kind of a communication board, so to speak, or community board. That's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And if
Yeah.
people don't know, that's something I learned with the failing of my coffee business was you really need to have an audience and community. Like those are all things that are so important for your business, and knowing that like as you're setting them up, like Bill's doing it with good intention. So there's nothing bad about that. But also on the business side, it's so cool because you really see in the businesses I've seen that like if you have a strong community, if you can build that out, if you can grab their emails, all of that good stuff, then you just have that connection with them so they can consume your content. You can provide content that they want, that they will eventually purchase,
Right.
all of that good stuff. So I'm like, yes, like I 100% agree. That is amazing. But also like, I think I said too, like you've seen my own with the small business community of like,
Right.
it's a lot of work and kind of slow to get things going where it says like my Fisher Philbrick top contributor. And then you're actually a top contributor too.
Really?
And then I was just like, yeah, it's just, I pretend I'm my business, then I come on as Michael. So there are a lot of work, but I think nonetheless it is really exciting to really kick that off and like be working on that because I think good things are going to come from that for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges there, I think we're both dealing with this, or will be. I guess you're a little bit more ahead of me on dealing with this because you've had your group longer. Is to come up with some stuff that you think this is the theme, this is the purpose of this group. What can I provide? What can I share in general? However that might consist, that would be beneficial and helpful to the audience, as well as also be engaging to them as well. So.
Yeah, which I think the good thing, because yours is a Christian ministry, like you got the whole Bible.
Oh
Pick
yeah,
some verses. Like where some of the things and mine could be very easy to with business. Like I had posted today of like some cool thing about how you could create email courses to lead people to sign up for your full course. And so like I know there's stuff like that too, but I'm just like, oh, it'd be so much easier just to be like, here's a great verse today, guys. Like, what do you think about this? So
literally got thousands and thousands to pick from. It's like, okay, we're gonna do verse 1 today, verse 2 tomorrow, verse 3 the next day.
But yeah, I think for myself, the cool thing I mentioned last week was I was getting an independent contractor set up. So as of March 5th, Jesse is the official first team member of Fisher Philbrick.
Awesome.
So hooray, that's
Congrats.
exciting. And he has edited one episode, and then he just messaged me today that he got a second one done. So that's really cool, and kind of set up a whole Excel sheet where, I've clicked a box if I've uploaded the files to the Google Drive form or Google Drive folder that we have, and then he'll check on which one he's working on, and then just kind of go throughout there. And
Yeah.
I love setting up processes and systems, so I think it's really fun. But
So what you're saying is you're a nerd.
yeah, in that element
Yeah.
of like the planning, and I'm like, yes, let's organize things. So that has actually been really fun, and I think the best thing is like the breath of fresh air, knowing that I don't have to edit those episodes,
Right, yeah.
because there's like over 20 now, and not realizing that was such a heavy like burden on me, because it really shouldn't be. And I almost got to where I'm like, well, I can edit, I can do it fast. And I'm like, Michael, you don't want to edit. Like, you're bringing someone on to do this for you because you're not getting to it. You're, not wasting time, but it's taking time from working on the
Right,
business,
right.
which I always mention of like, oh, it's so hard. But now that I'm on that side of it, I'm like, wow, I can go back to how I was in December and January and figuring out like, what am I doing with this business? How are
Right.
we pushing it forward? How can I get towards making money? Because I've only got maybe a month or two left on unemployment. So time's a ticking. But I'm also just starting off talking of email courses, working on one called How to Legally Start Your Own Business, because something you've mentioned and a couple people that I've talked to have gone through to like LegalZoom or other, they paid people to like get the kind of like those first papers officially
Right, yeah.
started. And I have written a whole article where I'm like, you can do it yourself. You don't have to pay. Like, you're going to have to pay the government regardless. But the idea being that, I guess, in the entrepreneur world, digital book, like ebooks and courses, like they're so popular where now it's like they're too popular or oversaturated, whatever you want to call it, which I think is sad, because I'm like, I just wrote that ebook and I think it's great. And like, you're coming out with courses that are great.
Right.
But the email courses are supposed to be kind of a new trend. So I'm going to test it out with this. It's going to be free. So I'll probably have you take it and see. And maybe those listening to, it'll come out. But just kind of that idea of you sign up, and then I'll give some background of like, oh, I've done 2 businesses where I started them on my own. Failed the one, but that also included paperwork that I had to file, and then kind of take them day 1, here's what you can do, day 2, and just kind of wrap that up. So that's kind of my next goal, is to see like create a couple free ones and then get to the paid ones.
There you go. That's a way to bring them in. It's like, hey, here's some free content. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here. Like, and we're going to deal with, I guess I'll probably deal with it probably a little bit more than you, is, people's like, well, it's the word of God. It's like everything should be free. It's like, well, then how exactly should things be sustained? So you got to really find that balance.
It's the balance
Yeah.
is the tricky part.
Yeah.
That's why my mom's like, another free one. I'm like, yes, because I haven't built the credibility. Like, if you know me, if you actually read through the website, and that's what I've had someone tell me, I'm like, what about your followers? I wouldn't really know it, which I think is so messed up, basing someone's credibility on
Right, yeah.
Instagram followers and whatnot. But I do the same thing too. When I see them, like, if they've got a couple thousand, wow, they must be great. And like, they're spewing garbage. But then they said like, but when I read through your content on your articles, then I see like, wow, there's good stuff here. I'm like, how do we connect those, those two things? Which is like, that's part of the struggle, I think, for most people, is like finding those, how can we get out there and find the right people who will be engaged and willing to pay even for your content.
Right.
And seeing like, you've got great stuff. Even the podcast alone that we do on your side is like, that is great and brings so much. And then if you want more, pay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a work in progress, but I mean that's what we want to do. Is the podcast overall are 100% free as of now. We're doing some switching. We're gonna have some bonus stuff that's for members, but and then obviously the courses, those are paid. But so it's really exciting, and I mean, really, if you think about it, I lost my train of thought. I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay, and then as we get towards the end of this, what are you working on in this next week?
This next week, for that group that we were just talking about, I've got to set up some bylaws and standards, community standards, pretty much for that. And I think that's really about it. And then obviously continuing on with working on Romans. I did not even touch that this week. I feel really bad about that. So,
well, it happens, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for myself, by the time this comes out, I want to be done with the first draft, at least, of that email series, because the article, which maybe I'll put it in the description for if you guys want to read it, it kind of gives layouts and talks about reusing your content you already have, repurposing. That's a huge thing. And I know, Bill, we've talked about like, man, you're going to have so much, or once, if you can bring on someone from your local church, which we're
Right.
not supposed to talk about, but you know, that idea of like when you bring on people that have been in the space or business longer, they've got so much content, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you've already got gold. Let's just put a new face on it and, you know, remarket it.
Take
as
from the
something
rich,
new.
give to the poor.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna hopefully have that going, and then just working on figuring out the new freedom of like I don't have to be stressed about editing now. So like figuring out that new game plan of like what exactly am I doing, because it's also a temptation to be like I have the free day, and I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you need to keep working.
Yeah, and I still got to deal with that too, because like there's sometimes like this week I haven't really done too much. I've just kind of relaxed, and now that it feels like I really shouldn't have. So I need to like really set days. This day I'm going to do this. This day I'm going to do that. This day I'm not going to do anything, kind of thing. I don't have that yet. So
it's all a work in progress,
Yeah.
right? Us as humans,
Yeah.
which is sad. It will never end, or it shouldn't. That's a bad sign if you think you're good.
So.
But Bill, close us out with some encouragement. How about
Encouragement. Caught on the
buy
spot
yourself
with
a
this.
motorcycle?
Yeah, there you go. Actually, yeah. And actually, within that, make sure that you don't go into it like I did, because I did the math, and I was like, okay, yeah, I could totally do this. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to save this much on gas. Well, I bought it from a dealer, and the money that I would save on gas is actually going to pay for the bike itself. So I'm breaking even. But yeah, get yourself. I mean, I would say that honestly. If you're worried about finances, come up with some way to get a used vehicle. You can pay it all off at once, and it's good. Make sure it's good, and it's a gas saver, and it's a money saver, and it's really, really relaxing. So that's my words of encouragement.
Just make sure you've got medical insurance and life insurance, right?
Yes, yeah, and a helmet. So
Yeah. For myself, I would say, and I'm going to be sharing this more on this social media for my business here, of like figuring out what went on to knowing I needed to bring on someone to help me, and like what that actually looks like. Because I've talked to so many people, and like the scammy, spammy entrepreneurial people will be like, you got to work on your business, not in the business, hire people, virtual and they just list out all these things. I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't have the money for that. How am I
Yeah.
supposed to do that? Like, we're expected when you start a business to work in it and on it all together, and usually it's very hard to do both.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my encouragement of seeing, like, once I lost the like excitement for the future of the business, that to me, as I look back now, was like, oh, that is a good point to like reevaluate whether it is like I needed to bring someone on, which in this case it was, because I was just had that impending doom of like, so many people are waiting for me to tell them I've edited their stuff and I haven't. Like the naughty schoolboy who didn't do his homework, but I'm trying, but I'm busy. So that is something I would say in your own business too. If you feel like maybe you're trying to gauge, am I working too much in it where I can't work on the future, is like,
Right.
Are you excited about the future of your business? If not, that's not good. Because as most people on the podcast I interview, is like, you should be doing something you're passionate about, that you love to do, that can serve other people. And so if you lose that, then why are you still doing it? Almost, which sounds terrible, but maybe it is. That's the point. Then you need someone to help you. So it's kind of a lot there, but that's what I've been learning. So it's exciting. But
That's
yeah,
good.
well, thanks, Bill, for being here, and we'll see you guys all next week. But check out the show notes and stay connected with Bill's business, my business here. As my mom says, there's just so much content out there. I'm like, yes, because we are growing our businesses.
90s commercial, but wait, there's more.
And that's where we'll say no, not for now. Goodbye.
Bye.